Our topic of forest resource extraction in protected areas of Uttar Pradesh. Are you present? Yes.
Yes, sir, I am present.
Please give your presentation.
So, is it visible?
Yes, visible, uh, but not in slideshow mode.
Okay. Sir, but from my side, I did. It is on full PowerPoint
I
presentation
think you
mode.
have to share the entire screen first.
Okay, 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 okay. So now, okay.
Yes, it is okay.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. And the topic of my presentation is on forest resource extraction, which is being done by the local communities in selected protected areas of the Uttar Pradesh. And as we all know that these protected areas, these are the designated region which aims to conserve the natural resources, to protect and conserve the biodiversity, and to maintain the ecosystem services. And the people, sometimes some of the indigenous communities, they are there and they live inside the protected area premises, and they are highly dependent on the forest resources. They can be hunters, they can be shifting cultivators, and they can be indigenous community or from the ethnic group. And the people who lives near these protected area premises, inside the protected area premises near the forest ecosystem, they can be agriculturists or who regularly use these forest resources for their sustenance and livelihood activities. And sometimes these people can be engaged in the commercial activities that sometimes they can be involved in trapping, they can be involved in logging, illegal resource extraction, and that will be a part of their cash economy because they are highly dependent upon the income which is being generated by you selling those forest resources. Now here these are the some of the general list of the forest resources which is being extracted by the local community from the forest resource from the protected area premises illegally, like wild fruits and vegetables. The grass and fodder is there which is being extracted and which is being used as a feeding foraging material for the livestock. Medicinal plants directly used by the local people, the spices and the flavors. Other examples of the forest resources, it can be gums, tannins, wax, resin, natural dyes, rattan, mahua seeds, and tedo leaves. Seeds and nuts are there, dry bushes are there, which can be used by the villagers, and that can be used for to fence their crop fields in order to reduce the crop raiding incidents from the wild animals. Bamboo is also extracted for the construction of the houses. Fuel wood, which is being used regularly by the people and which is being used for the cooking purpose throughout the year, and that consumption of the fuel would depend directly on the family size. The larger the family, the greater will be the fuel wood consumption, and moreover during the winter season also this fuel wood is used to warm their houses, and therefore during the winter season also this fuel wood consumption gets increased. And the timber species also, they are being extracted for the commercial purpose, for pulp, for furniture industries, and those species which are being extracted, which is being logged on commercial basis, they are the teak, deodar, sal, shisham, etc. So, oil seeds are there, tans and dyes are there, gums and resins are there, fibers and flosses are there. So, these are the a general list of the species which is being extracted by the people. Now here comes the study area where the study was carried out to study to assess the forest resource extraction by the local people. So the first protected area where this data collection was done is Katanya Ghat Wildlife Sanctuary, which is being situated in the Bahraich district of Uttar Pradesh. And this one is the GPS location. And this area holds an area of 400 square kilometer. And the biogeography of this area is Upper Gangetic Plain according to Reuters et al. And the geology of this area is a plain area and having an alluvium soil, quite fertile. And the forest, according to Champion and State classification, is tropical moist deciduous type of forest. And according to the management plan of the sanctuary, the whole protected area is being divided into three major habitat, that is sal forest, miscellaneous forest, which is kind of mixed forest, and grassland. And regarding the biodiversity, especially the fauna, a wide varieties of the birds, mammals, and reptiles and amphibians are there. And this whole sanctuary is being enriched by Gerva River. And according to the management plan of the sanctuary, these are the ratio of the human and livestock population. So these are the basic detail of the first study area. And the next study area which was selected to carry out this study was Kemur Wildlife Sanctuary. And these are the GPS location. And this sanctuary is situated in Sonbhadra and Mirzapur district of Uttar Pradesh, having an 500 square kilometer of area. And according to Roger et al., it has a semi-arid zone of northern India. And the geology says that it is a plain, and as well as it has a hilly and undulating terrain also. It is being enriched in red clay soil. And the flora, according to Champion and State classification, it is tropical dry deciduous type of forest. And again, wide varieties of birds, mammals, reptiles, and amphibians are there. And the rivers which is being present here is Son and Belan River. And here these are the detail of the human and livestock population inside and outside of the sanctuary according to the management plan which was given by the Forest Department. Now here comes the methodology, and this section was divided into three parts: sample site selection, data collection, original, and then the data analysis. So to have sample site selection, first of all, the area was a buffer zone was created, which was of 2.5 kilometer with the help of the ArcGIS software. And within that 2.5 kilometer of zone, I found out that there are 101 and 50 villages present respectively in Katania Ghat and Kemur. So to move on with the household survey for village selection, I selected 28 and 20 villages from Katania Ghat and Kemur based on the highest human and livestock population. And that information was collected from the forest and as well as the revenue department. And to carry out the sampling from each village, 10% households were sampled. So altogether it accounts for, in case of Katania Ghat, it was 302 households, and in case of Kemur, it was 326 households from 20 villages. So these are the basic details of the sample site selection. Now here comes the data collection. So I used both type of sources, like both primary and secondary. And for primary data, household survey was done, and for secondary data, I used forest and revenue department data. And for household surveys, data was collected on socioeconomic profile and the dependence on the forest resources, which is being responded by the local people. And regarding the socioeconomic profile, it included the family size, literacy, the occupation, the size of the land holding, and livestock holding. And process the people's dependence on the forest resources. Data was collected from each sample household, and quantity was asked from the respondent, and that resources include fuel wood, grass, and NTFPs. And regarding the data analysis, percentage was calculated for each variable, and the household which were involved in the resource extraction were included in analyzing the data on the forest resource dependence. The respondents since they were easily able to tell the quantity of the fuel wood extracted, therefore it was easier for me to use that data, and I didn't standardize the head load for the fuel wood consumption. And the consumption of the fuel wood was done annually, which was being calculated by multiplying the quantity which was responded by the sample household to the total number of the days in a year. And for NTFP, since it is being done seasonally, and therefore majorly the collection was usually took place from April to July, and therefore to analyze its value, the consumption of the NTFP, the quantity which was being responded by the people was multiplied to number of the days, which was 120 days generally. And to have more authentication of the data which was collected, I use the Kruskal-Wallis, which is a rank-based non-parametric test to test the significant difference between the two or more groups. So the data of both the protected area was divided into two groups, that was tribal and non-tribal community. And that after that, the Kruskal-Wallis test was run, and all this thing was done on the SPSS version 17 software. So these are the detail of the methodology. Now here comes the result. I use a basic result for this presentation. So here, the first graph shows about the land and livestock ownership of both the protected area, where you will see majority of them are having land and livestock ownership, both ownership by both the protected areas. Whereas if you will see the occupational activities, majorly they are labor practicing followed by the agriculture. And here this table shows the basic socioeconomic profile, or I could say the sample detail of the people which are present in both the sanctuary, like the villages sampled, the houses sampled, the livestock holder, the livestock population which is being sampled during the present study, the tribal household which are present in both the protected area premises, the non-tribal households which are present in both the protected area premises. So these are the basic detail from the protected area. And this table shows the mean annual fuel wood consumption pattern in the sample household of the tribal and non-tribal community, where you will see in case of Katanya Ghat, the non-tribal community is using more fuel wood, whereas in case of Kimur, tribal community is using more fuel wood consumption. Now here, this slide shows the basic NTFP details, resource extraction detail. Like this graph shows the percentage of the family which is being involved in collecting NTFP from the forest. And here we'll see that majority of the people are using grass as compared to these species like Maduka indica, herbal plants, Diospyros melanozolan, which is tebu leaves, and wild vegetables. Now here this table shows the NTFP collection done by the tribal and non-tribal community. So here these are the detail of the chi-square analysis and the species which is being extracted, and majority of them are extracting this grass species. And this one is the detail from the Katanya Ghat, and this one is the detail from the Kemur Wildlife Sanctuary. So these are the findings. And regarding the key findings of the present study, it was found that majority of them are, I earlier told you that majority of them are both having land and livestock ownership, and majority of them are in both the protected area, they are laborers practicing followed by agriculture, and fuel wood consumption was quite higher as compared to Katanya Ghat and Kemur, and the collection of NTFP was found to be highest by the non-tribal in both the protected areas. And as well as to conclude for the present study, the tribal and non-tribal community, they have a certain differentiation in their social structure and as well as economic structure and forest resource dependency, especially in case of Kemur, and it was not found in Katanya Ghat. So these are the basic key findings from the present research. And here this last slide shows about the challenges which is being faced by the protected area managers to have a proper NTFP management, like over harvesting, the hindrance with the conservation objectives, the illegal harvesting which is being regularly done by the people, and the basic market fluctuation, because usually when there is a high demand of any particular species, then they will over harvest that particular the thing from the protected area. And here these are the management practices that what should be done in order to avoid this type of thing, over harvesting. Like they could be having effective management strategies like a sustainable harvesting, like water banks should be started at the village level in both the sanctuaries, and a more inclusive research and data required for the conservation efforts and policy making, and having an integrated local knowledge by involving the local people and implementing the strong monitoring and regulation can help into achieve a balance between the conservation and the sustainable use of the NTFP from these protected areas. And the last one, and which is being important one also, to have an alternate livelihood opportunity to the local community, because that would help in reducing the forest resource dependence from the protected area premises. So thank you so much. This is all from my side.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Any question?